And I'm very excited to, give you this platform to really talk about your book. So my first question, because I really want to know more about this, what was your journey? Like, actually, okay, let me stop. Let me introduce myself. Let me introduce you. I'm sorry. I'm just like, let's just totally get in this. All right, let's start over. Take two. All right. I'm Dr. Lauren, and I am the founder of Think Dyslexia. I am a special educator. I am not an adult with dyslexia. However, I have this platform as a space for these conversations to bring awareness, to hopefully change the narrative. And I just love how I've connected with so many amazing people because of this platform. So yeah, I'm just so thrilled that you have reached out to me, and I love reading children's books, especially empowerment in different ways. So Hannah, do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's a real honor to be able to come and talk to you today. So I'm Hannah. I am dyslexic. I'm a classic severe dyslexic. I was the first girl in my school to get diagnosed as dyslexic at the age of 5. So,
wow.
I'm 40 now. So, back then it was quite a new thing. And so it was a real struggle for me. I kind of growing up feeling quite different, knowing that I couldn't do certain things, or I found certain things a lot more tricky, and the teachers were navigating their way of kind of understanding dyslexia, and some of them weren't so understanding about what it all was. In fact, I wrote in a post a while back, the words I remember. At the age of 5, I was pulled to the front of the class and they said, "Today we find out whether Hannah is stupid or dyslexic." Now, I don't remember if that's the words of the teacher or if that's what I felt inside. And maybe they didn't say that, but that's kind of what I made of it. And so it was this. I mean, I have written one other book. I'm now a person-centered counselor, and I help young people. And my first book was about talking about your feelings. And this was, I sat down to write my second book, which was meant to be an extension of my first book. And this just kind of came out. It was just a bit of a journey for me, and me talking to me when I was 5 years old, really.
Little Hannah. Yes, it's healing in a way, right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, there weren't any kind of stories like, it was always the traditional happy ending, and I really wanted, those words of impact, the words that I wish I could have read to myself at the age of 5, because this is the age group kind of for the book, is around kind of 4 to 7 years old. It's kind of the story that I wish had been written back then, that my mum could have read to me.
I love that. Well, that actually kind of eases into my first question. Like, can you kind of give a summary? I kind of did a little bit, but I would like if you could give a summary of this beautiful book and share that with our audience here.
Okay, so unfortunately I don't have the actual copy. The first copies have just gone to print, so I will have the actual copy, but at the moment I don't have anything to show you, which feels a bit weird. I can't wait to get it in my hand and be able to kind of look and see it. It's called Climb, which I thought was I was thinking about the title, and then suddenly it was just like, you know what, it's like the uphill battle I kind of felt like climbing. It's about a little forest elephant called Hetty, and it's set in the Congo Basin, and in the Congo Basin your worth is judged on whether you can climb trees, and obviously Hetty is an elephant, so she can't climb trees. But that doesn't stop her. She decides she is going to prove to everyone that she is worth something, and she is going to fit into their box, and she is going to win the annual climbing competition. And she's got some really good friends, and they try and help her. But after a while, she kind of realizes, she kind of manages to climb a little bit, but she kind of realizes that that's not her special talent. It's not going to be her forte. And the morning of the test arrives, and she's very worried about what's going to happen. And something does happen, but she doesn't have to climb a tree, but she manages to prove her worth by doing something that she is really good at, that she finds her own unique talents. But I'm not going to tell you what happens, because that would just spoil the ending.
Yes. And I think what I loved about the book, first of all, the colors, just the feel of it. I mean, because I have a 3.5-year-old, and I think I even told you, I was like, I definitely want to read. She's not dyslexic as far as I know, but I know that I personally feel, because I actually have my own neurodiversities. I have ADHD. So I know that's genetic, and I'm already kind of seeing it in my little one. And so I like that individuality that you had in the book, where these little kids, 4, 5, 6, 7, can really relate in their own way, because they're little people. They have big feelings, and if these aren't really unpacked and discussed, and I mean, I can't even like fathom the comment you made about you being 5, whether that was what you heard or what you felt. That's awful, and so it's just, I love having these discussions with authors who are writing books like this, because these just didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. So I love that.
And that's what I wanted to. So although it's not about dyslexia, that but it's about difference and feeling difference and embracing your uniqueness, and that's why at the end there's a few little activities just to embrace your own difference. So it doesn't have to be whether it's a learning difficulty or a physical, something that's different physically, whatever it is, everyone's different, and it's looking at that and then looking at the positives of that, and who do you know who is similar to you, and how are your friends similar to you, and how are they different, and it's just kind of figuring all of that out, which I just think's really helpful, and I wish I'd done that when I was little.
Yeah, and I feel like the word that pops up in my head as we're talking about this is inclusivity. And as a special educator, I've worked in various environments. I've worked in specialized private schools for kids with dyslexia, specialized private schools for kids with neurodiversities, and then I've also worked in public school. And it's just interesting to kind of see, especially in the public school environment, you do have those, and inclusion's not a place, but it's more of a philosophy, but you do have that mindset of some teachers that are like, well, I don't teach those kids, well, those are your kids because you're the special educator, when really it's about how do we coexist as human beings in a world where everyone perceives information differently, everyone processes information differently, and it's really about understanding those differences and embracing them, because the way that you view things isn't wrong, and the way I view things isn't wrong. It's just different.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's what I the same with the back pages. I wanted, it's not just for someone that necessarily feels different as well. It's about kind of accepting, like, okay, well maybe you're really similar to a lot of your friends, but because difference can be scary. It's frightening when you don't understand it, and I think that's possibly what happened with some of the teachers that might not have handled it quite as well. They feel out their depths, and then but it all kind of ends up on my shoulders or the young person's shoulders. So it's like opening up that kind of difference isn't scary. We just have to kind of look a little bit deeper and find where you kind of come together
in the middle.
meet.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to ask you, just because this was one of my questions, but you answered it. So you are dyslexic. You were diagnosed at 5. So can you talk a little bit about how, because from my experience, being the person who usually interviews adults with dyslexia, I've had a wide range of some folks were diagnosed when they were 30. And their confidence and self-esteem was not where maybe someone who was diagnosed at 5 or 6. So how has your life unfolded knowing that you got this early diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I often felt kind of quite confused like when I was younger. My mum would have to, my mum used to say she could feed me breakfast, lunch and dinner and then send me back to bed, because that's, I had these special kind of the pillars of the day to hold on to remember things. So but and I think I've taken that through my life. Like I say, if someone takes away my diary, I just wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't know. Kind of, I have to. I'm quite structured in things. Like there's certain things that um I really have to have structure to, and I've also worked out like little tricks how to kind of, because I think there's still a little bit of shame around it. You know,
Yeah.
I often don't tell employees I'm dyslexic. Um, you know, so I do. It's so much easier now with phones and spell checks and things like that. But
Right.
it used
Voice
to drive me
threads.
bonkers. Yeah, when people used to say to me, "Oh, I'd say, well, how do you spell this?" And they'd say, look it up in the dictionary. And I was like, yeah, but you have to know how to spell the word to look
Yes.
it up in the dictionary. Like, this is so annoying. No one ever understood that. But now, you know, you now have kind of spell check and things like that. Although, you know, the amount of times my computer just doesn't understand what I'm saying. Like
Right.
even the spell check is so wrong, the spell does check. So I just have to think of a different word. So I think that's been quite good in terms of my writing. You know, I've got quite a big vocabulary because I often have to
Yes.
find the word that I can spell. And yeah, so it's definitely made me who I am today. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
I
You
think
know,
it's a
it
great thing. Look at what you've accomplished. I mean, I think it's your journey. That's why you're climbing the dyslexia journey. That's why I named this live that.
yeah, yeah, well, exactly. So, you know, it's come with some gifts and some things that have been harder to kind of deal with. But yeah, I was really lucky to get diagnosed at the age of 5. Although I then used to have extra English lessons during my lunch break, so all my friends would be playing in the playground, and it almost felt like a bit of a punishment, although it was just, you know, my family and my school trying to do the best that they
Right.
can for me. You know, when all your friends are playing and you can't because you've got to have another English lesson, and it's just exhausting, you know. You're um but yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm seeing a lot of comments. So earlier, someone had mentioned they were diagnosed at 45. So obviously, their journey is a lot different from yours. And I find that to be very interesting too, speaking to some
Yeah.
adults who were diagnosed later. And then I also see Casey, the dyslexia classroom. She said, I think it's empowering for our children to have adults sharing all facets of their journey. And you know, it got me thinking of some people on this live might know this, and you might actually, Hannah. Thank you, Mr. Falker. Are you familiar with that story?
No,
So
no.
Patricia Polacco is the children's author, and she's dyslexic,
Yeah.
but she writes this story about when she went to school in the 1950s. And
Right.
I, like, without fail, when I was teaching 4th grade to my dyslexic students, I would cry all the time. I mean, just like bawling, because this teacher in the 1950s knew that she learned differently and was like her safe haven. And he was doing like multi-sensory stuff on the chalkboard, like things that I'm like, wow. So it's interesting to kind of see how some things have never changed and some
Yeah.
things kind of have changed. But
Yeah.
it's just so, like, I don't know, every time I have these conversations with authors or authors and people that have dyslexia, it's just, I don't know, it really drives me to continue this work, you know, because
Yeah.
I didn't realize, just, this is going to sound very naive, but I didn't realize just how much of a problem this was until I went to public school, because I was in my own world of all the teachers I worked with knew Orton Gillingham, knew the multisensory approach, knew how to support kids with dyslexia, that social emotional piece. But once I went to public school, you weren't allowed to say dyslexia. You weren't allowed to really like do anything about it. It was just, they'll grow out of it. I mean, all these things that to me philosophically did not align with who I am as a person, educator, mom, like all this. And I was just like, I've got to continue this work. So it's just, I love that you shared your story. And it's just, I think so many people are like resonating with this conversation. And I wanted to ask you too, so why a children's book, not like a young adult novel? Because I'm sure when you were a teenager, there were some challenges too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember once when I became, I mean, that feeling of what will become of me, you know, you think of all the different things, but I couldn't be a waitress as, you know, as a young adult. I could, because all the chefs would be like, well, what does this say? And I'll be like, I don't actually know, because you're trying to write stuff down, people are asking you, you're trying to think, or and the babysitter went to someone's house to babysit them, and the 5-year-old it was a Horrid Henry book I was reading, and they were kind of correcting me, and I just, you know, it's that shame of a 5-year-old and so yeah, I've got plenty of kind of that as a teenager, the anxiety of you know, is this really going to, you know, hold me back? I can't do the same jobs that my friends are doing, you know, the jobs that that should just be easy,
right.
You know, and I couldn't do them. So yes, there's something there, but I did feel like, you know, I got diagnosed when I was 5, and this was a story. This was a story I had to write to kind of my young, my little Hannah. And I also, you know, I love illustrations, and I love poetry. And so at the moment, that's kind of where my passion is. But that's not to say that maybe I won't kind of start to explore, yeah, young adults kind of more.
I love that. No, that's amazing. So there is a young adult novel I will kind of push out if you all have not heard. It's called My Name Is Layla. And it's actually about, she's in 8th grade, I think, 7th or 8th grade. And she doesn't know she's dyslexic until like that year. I think her teacher is like, hey, I'm noticing this. And it was so, I really felt it with her because I'm a middle school educator. So I was like, I've seen these kids like go through all of this stuff where it's social, emotional, and all of that. But I love, you know, the age group that you focused on and your reasoning behind it. And I think I think it's beautiful. And, you know, it leads me to my last question. Where can we purchase this book? Because I know someone said they're looking forward to buying it and reading it to their little one. And I think someone said they use it in therapy already. So tell us, where can we purchase this book?
Okay, well, so the one that they use in therapy already is my other one, which is Conquer the Chameleon. So that this is my first one, and that's more about mental health and talking about your feelings. So that's my background, and that is available on Amazon and on the internet. There's it's also available at Baby Pillar as well, which ships worldwide. At the moment, Climb is just on Amazon, and also there's one UK based retailer. But if you follow me on Instagram, h.j.peckham, then you can find out all the details. But it's kind of hard to find at the moment on Amazon, which is a bit annoying because it's only in pre-order. It's launching on the 18th of November, so that's when it's going to be a lot easier to get your hands on.
Okay. Yeah, and you know what, Hannah, I will, when you remind me when it's launching, I will definitely push this video out to make sure that people are getting exposed to it, because I mean, I want to have a large audience for this reason, you know, to be like, hey, check this out and purchase this book, and let's continue to keep spreading awareness and get the word out there.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so lovely to talk to you.
Yeah.
I wish I just have the book here to show you.
Yes.
Maybe we could talk again once it's properly launched, and I can
love
I can hold the book in my hands and send you a copy so you can hold it in your hands and read it to your little one.
Well, yay. Hannah, thank you so much for your time, and I hope everyone found this conversation helpful. It's going to be on my IGTV, and I will actually upload it on my YouTube channel, so it will live there forever. I usually kind of
Ah,
clean off my IGTV after a while. But no, this was excellent. And I would love to do another conversation when the book actually physical copy comes in so we can promote it more.
that's amazing. Thank you so much for talking to me. What time is it over there? What
I'm
time?
in Maryland, so it's 12:25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it's not too bad. You've got the rest of your
I
day.
do.